Let's talk about springs again. So I've decided to tweak my suspension setup again. I'm currently running BC Racing coilovers and I'd already changed the spring on it to make it a little softer, but I'm going to tweak it again. To explain what I'm trying to achieve, I'm going to put some numbers down here. What we have here is various different spring rate settings on the front and rear and how they compare to stock. The stock front springs have a spring rate of 1.9 on the front and 2 kg on the rear. This gives you an incredibly compliant ride. This is what they look like here. A little bit too much so. There's a lot of body roll and it tends towards understeer on the limit, and part of that is down to that difference in spring rate. So what I did was I bought the BC Racing coilovers, which come as standard with spring rate of 4 and 6 kg. This is obviously a huge difference from stock. They're incredibly firm, great body control, and more of a neutral to rear bias on the kind of oversteer. After driving it for a few weeks, I decided it wasn't really for me, and I ended up going back to the stock suspension if you've seen my previous videos. But then what I decided to do was contact BC Racing and ask them if there was any other solution that could be somewhere in the middle. And their recommendation was to leave the dampers in place and to replace the springs to 3 and 4 kg springs. So I changed the springs, reinstalled the BC Racing coilovers, took it out for a drive, and you may have seen my previous video on that. It was definitely softer, but still on the firm side of things. I've been living with it now for a couple of months with this setup, and it really doesn't suit the roads around my area, and I decided to start investigating again. So what I did was I contacted BC Racing again. Their customer support in the UK, I have to say, is excellent. Very responsive online chat on the website. I took all the details from me and talked to their experts and came back to me with their recommendation. So what they recommended was to try a 2 kg front and 3 kg rear. Now my first concern was that if you're going down to this level of spring rate, is the damper itself going to be causing the firmness at some point, or is that going to be a limitation where I'm trying to get a specific ride and that's not going to get me there? They seem to think that the damper is up to the task if we lower the spring rates down like this. As you can see, the fronts are almost stock levels, but the rear is firmer. So this should help with this more rear biased handling, but give me a lot more compliance. It'd be half the spring rates of what the normal BC Racing coilovers come with. So as a frame of reference, I did a little research and found out the spring rates for the upgraded Mugen suspension that was available from new, and their spring rates were 2.1 and 2.9. They used a very similar damper, but they just upgraded the springs as far as I'm aware. But as you can see, the new springs that I'm about to put on are very, very close to what Mugen would have fitted. So when you get the springs, there is 3 numbers written on them here. 62 is the inside diameter, the 200 refers to the length, and 6 in this case refers to the kg. So this was part of the original BC Racing spring setup. These are the ones I currently have installed in the car, the 3 and 4, and these are the new ones. So these are the 2 kg and 3 kg. What I would say is that BC Racing were really interested in how I was going to get on with this. They may feed that information back into their tech team and offer it as a kit if I do find a solution that I feel is a good fit for the car. So I can't recommend them highly enough. The quality of the actual product and the dampers and all the fittings and everything is excellent. I filmed all the changing the suspension and everything previously So if you're interested in that, you can go back and watch my previous videos. But I'm not going to film that process now, and I will report back when everything is installed, and I'm going to take it on a test drive then at that point. So what's the verdict? Well, the good news is that that balance is still there. So in other words, it just doesn't understeer, sticks to the road. The springs are definitely softer as well, which is a bonus. But on the worst roads around my area, which I don't take too often, but it's a good test, I definitely think that the limiting factor now is the dampers themselves. It's just a bit bouncy and never really comfortable. So I think it's about as good as I'm going to get with these BCs. I could probably ask them to do a custom valving on the dampers, but I just don't want to go that far. Overall, it's a decent setup. I'll be leaving them the way they are now, probably permanently. In my next video, I might be playing about with wheels. Slán!